Tori.
All right. It
Oh,
says we
no,
are
Sam.
live. So, hi, everybody. We're here to do the Crave-a-long book discussion for. Ooh, almost dropped my book. Crave.
I don't have my
I.
copy because Sterling has it.
Oh, no. That's okay. I am Alicia from Books and Things with Alicia, and I will let all of my lovely co hosts introduce themselves.
Hello, I am Morgan from Morgan's Bookshelves. I'm gonna mute my phone because um I have not posted a video in like a month.
Oops.
I unintentionally took the entire month of January off. Um I will try to fix that because yeah. But
Oh,
hi. Also I just woke up, so
these two. These two.
Clint, do you
How,
want to go?
I'll let you go first, Hope. I'll go last.
Oh, great. Well, hi, I'm Hope from It's Hope Books, and I'm so excited to be discussing this.
Hi, I'm Clint from Reed's Readers. Probably the gayest one here, let's be honest. And I'm excited to talk about the only book in this series that I hate. Because I hate read this for the second time because I can't stand Grace in this first book.
We will get to all of the characters and everything. We already have a couple of comments. Hello, Bethany. Thank you for joining us. We have Lucinda. Tori. Hi, everyone. Can't wait for the discussion. Neither can we. I was showing my co host backstage how I tabbed and annotated, and it was a lot. Yes, Morgan.
I want to counter Clint's point about this. This time around, I didn't hate Grace mostly just because I was like, oh, that was me when I was in high school because similar trauma. So I was like, oh, I understand you a lot more now, and I am so sorry.
What do we want to talk about first? Because there's a lot. Do we want to talk about Grace going to Alaska?
Can we talk about the fact that there's a character that is mentioned at the very beginning? Philip. What the fuck happens to Philip? If he's supposed to be Macy's uncle, because she called
That's
him uncle, what
that's
happened to him?
I don't think he's her like biological uncle. I think he's like a close family friend. You know how like you have like those close family friends and you basically just call them aunt and uncle because it's simpler than saying like, oh, my family's friend. I think he might come back. I don't remember for sure, but he's not really that important. He probably just goes home and drinks his beer and watches TV. So
I kind of feel like I agree with Morgan because you see him in like the first chapter and like even like in the beginning it's like he did a favor for the family, so he's a family friend, but they're also in remote Alaska, so everybody knows everybody in some way, shape, or form. So it could be that everyone's family in a sense.
But it was just to me the way she said the whole uncle. It was just like, okay, so is this her mother's brother or her dad's brother? But if the dad's hanging out with him, wouldn't that make him a wizard? Or a warlock or a
I
witch or whatever. So my brain is like, why introduce him and call him that if you're not going to make him important?
I don't think he's supernatural. He might know because it is
Alaska.
what it is, but at the same time, it's kind of like I don't necessarily think he just doesn't really offer much, but I can see him coming back in later books. I don't know if he does or not because I did not finish Court, but he might come back in like Cherish or something to like I don't know, help out maybe. I don't know.
What if he works for the show?
I know that I have a note of how it's like, of how he says, anytime you need a flight, I'm your man. And I just put a thing of, is he a dragon? ... Because of, like, he flies a plane, but that's more for, like, that. But, like, could the flying mean an alternative thing of...
But witches fly too.
True.
Well,
Which is
Macy said that they don't really fly, like on brooms or anything. Some can, but I don't think the majority of them don't. I think they're more like potion and wand based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the dragon thing, that could be a whole. That's a whole nother realm.
It just popped into my head, and I was like writing it down.
I mean, it's possible, but I feel like if he was, Macy would have mentioned it when she revealed, like, oh, by the way, all of this is real. So I feel like she could have been like, oh, do you remember Philip? He's actually a dragon.
I feel like Philip, at the same point, I also feel like the author forgot about him.
That could
It's
be.
like, I wrote this, but I'm so deep into this story and other things. How do I make him come back?
If I go to another Tracy Wolff signing, I will literally ask her and be like, so, what happened to Philip?
She's probably going to go, who?
Yeah.
Chapter 1 of Crave, honey.
Your book, you wrote it, ma'am.
I'll go back to some of the comments. We have a Trin. Hello, how's everyone doing? We're doing excitable.
See?
We have a Sam. Hola. We have a Talia. She's here.
Yay.
Karina. Hey, friends. In typical fashion, I'm not done with Crave yet, but I'll come back to watch when I am.
Yee.
Lucinda. Yeah, I assume in later books there must be scenes outside the school that he might be featured in. Possibility. Talia, still working on finishing the book. I'm hoping to be done this weekend. Yes.
Okay, I also have another thing. If the town is only 90 minutes away, why haven't they said anything about they can hear the shit that goes on at the castle?
Magic.
Because I'm also thinking future books as well and how bad things can get.
Yeah.
Why the heck isn't the town mentioned past just that first chapter?
Magic.
I would have to see a map to see like where everything is in location. Hope.
Well,
maybe the people in the town know about the school, but they keep it quiet. Like they don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
They're in on it, so they just kind of are like hear like random noises, and they're just like, it's the school again.
And it's the full moon. I hear howling. Stay inside.
Forever, Morgan.
We're good.
I mean, you also got to remember that the school is on a mountain, and sound doesn't travel as well on mountains.
True, I didn't think
Like,
of that.
speaking, like, as somebody who literally lives, like, not even an hour away from the mountains, you can't hear most of what goes on in the mountains. Like, if there's, like, an animal, like, growling or something, I can't hear it from my house. Because of how sound travels with the mountains. Like,
it doesn't reverberate. Yeah.
Like, when you're on the mountain directly, you can hear certain things. Like, for example, if you hear, like, a mountain lion, like, doing whatever it is mountain lions do, I can't hear that from here, but I could hear it if I was near enough, if I was close enough on a mountain. and like if it's a valley, sometimes things can echo, but I think because the town is on probably like close enough that they can see it, but they wouldn't be able to hear anything. I feel like that's why they don't really comment on it. And also, it's Alaska, so if they hear howling in the middle of the night, they're probably just like, "Oh, it's Alaska. There's wolves in Alaska, so that it's probably just a normal wolf, not a werewolf."
That's true.
I mean, they also have to have the people because, I'm all on this board that the town knows, seeing as they order blood and stuff for the castle. They have to order it from someone to get it to there.
Not necessarily,
Yeah,
because they do
that's
animal
true.
blood. So if they're in the mountains and the forest and stuff, they could probably use. But I would imagine that at some point they'd have to outsource and gather other animals. Because how many
Well,
animals are in Alaska?
Macy mentioned something about her dad ordering
I
through
guess
people all the time to get certain things. And then how they got what they got for the room and everything.
that could be. I guess with location and too. Morgan.
Yeah.
I think the reason I don't think they order like the blood and stuff through other people. I think that there is probably some kind of supernatural butcher because like we see the fact that basically the different courts when we see them in later books, they have like kind of their own like economies. So it's entirely possible that there's some like supernatural like butcher who will like can like you can buy the blood from. And I think when Macy was talking about ordering stuff like from the room, that's probably more like mundane things like blankets, the pillows, some like extra clothes and stuff. I think it's less supernatural and more practical because they don't want to tell that many people about who and what they are because in Alaska there's not really much to do other than like spend time on the internet and somebody would say something and then
Unless the entire town is paranormal.
well,
That could be a possibility too.
possible.
In the comments, Faithfully Moonstruck, hello, was trying to finish, but I have like 40 pages left. Ooh, the good part.
Ooh, yes.
Brianna, she does have a point. There could be a paranormal market where they get goods for the fellow supernaturals.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a candy shop at one point in this series, so it would make sense.
That is very true. And I imagine with having different paranormals at the different school locations, they would have to have the goods that they need to survive without being noticed.
Yeah.
Seeing as this is only specializing in these 4 creatures.
Exactly.
Out of the whole huge
community.
Yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and talk about storyline, or do we want to do characters next?
I'm good with
Okay,
either.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll do storyline. So what did everybody think of the storyline?
Intriguing.
I agree. just these two.
Just interesting. Fun.
Twilight knockoff?
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's a knockoff because it's just Twilight had vampires and werewolves, whereas this one has a lot more vast creature base, but I can see where it goes along with Twilight because even in my tabbing and annotation, I was just like, Edward much? This was rude. That we're having a Bella moment. So there's a lot of that going.
Moments.
Yeah. Morgan.
You said it's a Twilight knockoff. I'm going to disagree because the native people are actually respected in this book.
Amen.
True. That is very true.
And they haven't been like commercialized like they were in Twilight.
Bethany says Twilight 3.0.
I will say that in a difference to the Twilight, we didn't get any lines about how white Grace is. Like every paragraph didn't involve something about her being white. Oh, I'm so bright, I should not be from Arizona type moments.
I don't think her skin color is discussed like at all.
It's
And
not.
even let me pull up the trading cards because let me go grab those because we have.
Lucinda says could have easily cut the first half into thanks to Grace mooning over Jackson.
Hello.
We will get to that.
Listen, that's book 2 of Twilight moment where she's just sitting in the chair crying for months on months on months on end. Is kind of how I took that.
Tori says he gives her Twilight in the book. That floored me and I laughed hysterically.
How stupid can you be? He's pointing out all the signs. There are so many signs pointed out throughout this series.
Oh, go ahead.
And just like how when Legacies is mentioned, I'm like, that's literally this book, just in TV show format.
Morgan.
Clint, we have had this discussion before.
I know.
When somebody makes jokes like that, you don't automatically assume vampire. You just assume emo bitch who read too much fan fiction.
But my thing is you walk into a room and you see, oh, this group of really handsome people in the corner drinking red liquid. You see these people in the corner with all these shiny objects going, ooh, shiny. You have these women and men in the corner with all these crystals all over their smocks and stuff, and they're just like seem like they're floating. And then you have a bunch of jocks in the corner going, yeah, ooh, ooh. I'm gonna be like vampire, werewolf. Nah, I don't know what the fuck you are, but then you're a witch. I'm gonna stand over here because I don't feel comfortable.
Just like, I'm gonna
wrong.
leave.
Something's up with all y'all.
Morgan.
Flicks are everywhere. And Grace even points out that it's more cliquish than separate. Like, she even calls them like separate quote unquote factions. Because cliques, I don't know how long it's been since you were in high school, but
I don't know how to take that.
I don't
think I
remember
just
what
got
year
called
you said you
old.
graduated. I haven't been in a physical high school building in over.
It's been 20 years for me. Let's just say that.
It's been a long time, and even it wasn't so much at the last high school that I went to, but like my first high school was very cliquish, and the cliques didn't mesh.
15 years for me.
So
I can see that, but at the same time, like Clint, I'm gonna know that there's something about them that doesn't allow them to commingle.
well, Grace
there's
even acknowledges that.
If your favorite show is Legacies and Vampire Diaries, and she mentions that she's obsessed with paranormal things, when you are obsessed with paranormal stuff, you start to see it in the real world.
You just assume it's all fiction.
You can, but I don't know. Like Clinton said, I would start to wonder if that was a thing. Hope.
I know that I would be like, there's something up with each group, but it's probably nothing. So I can definitely see why Grace is like, oh yeah, these various like cliques, factions, whatever you want to call them, but it's not glaringly obvious because also she has that mindset of, I'm just here to go to school. I don't care what's going on because of what happened. She's kind of blindsided with being just overwhelmed with not only losing her parents, going to a new state and having to go to a new school and meet all these new people, that in her mind, she's thinking of the cliques from her previous high school, of how that worked.
Okay, I found.
But also the chessboard. My thing is I would also think the chessboard, when I noted when they so violently was like about the vampire queen and the dragons and stuff like that, I would probably in my head go, huh, when we walk into this room with all these cliques, I would think something. Maybe they're acting it out, or is this real? Like, could these be vampires, dragons, and stuff? Or do they think they are and they're not?
I would probably have a similar reaction, but I would keep it in the back of my mind. Hope.
I would just be like, "Ooh, cool, unique chess pieces."
Exactly.
Morgan.
So I grabbed my trading cards. I have a full set. So this is Grace. She's pale,
Okay,
but it's
Bella.
never mentioned in the book. Her whiteness isn't brought up. I think the only character who is described as super, super white is Jackson. But it makes sense because
Vampire, dead.
he's a vampire, and so he's dead, alive. It's never discussed whether or not these vampires are considered undead or if they're.
Well, they said he was born. He was a born vampire instead of made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope.
Because let me find Jackson.
Yeah, like kind of that. I think that the vampires in this world, because it's never explicitly said, are alive. They just, instead of eating food, they have blood for nutrition.
Ooh, that is a hot picture of Jackson. Sorry. Even
See,
though I
to
am,
me, he has more of a tan there than
even though
paleness.
I am not
Yeah.
Team Jackson at all.
Well,
I agree with Brianna. Also, we're going to do some comments real quick. The Twilight vibes are heavy in this book. I can
That was
pinpoint a
intentional.
lot of them.
The book is literally dedicated to Stephanie Meyer.
I want some from Jackson's side. We actually do get a couple of scenes from Jackson in the back of the book, the extra chapters. And it is quite interesting. The first 45 chapters, the only reason I kept reading was because of Jackson.
That's fair. It's the way he's supposed. Like, the reason Clint, for example, is cringing is because he knows what happens in later books, and so do I. But
no, I cringed the first time.
The way he's written is supposed to be like, you're supposed to love this guy, and you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, like this guy is like extra swoon worthy, like it's intentional. Because stuff that happens in the later books that happen, you're supposed to kind of feel conflicted about what happens, and so she has to make Jackson desirable, otherwise it makes everything fall apart, because it like, you have to have compelling characters in order to make things like multiple love interests, which we even see in this book with Jackson and Flint. She makes them both leveled characters in in a way to make sure you're kind of conflicted about, oh, should she choose Flint or Jackson, or what's going on here. It's intentional that she wrote him like that because you're supposed to like him and root for Grace and Jackson.
I could see that, but I don't know. Even reading it the first time, I wasn't really rooting for Jackson. I was actually rooting for Grace and Flint, but at the same time, it still felt like vampire versus werewolf or vampire versus dragon in this one. But at the same time, even though I know what happens, it very brooding. Who is that? Ooh, that's Flint.
Yes, this is Flint.
I could see him waggling his eyebrows and going,
I
"Hey,
picture him a little bit more Asian. Just a
yes,
little bit more Asian features.
Clint."
Okay, my thing with Jackson, the first time I read it and this time I read it, I still don't see a connection between Jackson and Grace. It felt like it was forced in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like as you read the underlining of it, it's like when they see each other, it feels like it's forced. Like the writing is forcing these two to like each other. Even though I feel like even though we know other things, but I'm trying to just base off of this book alone here. This is really hard with my brain.
I know.
But but that's why when I read this, I looked at it with a whole new lens of let's just go into this just with their connection. I wanted to see is there an actual connection? I still don't feel like there's a connection between the two. It's like, oh, he's a pretty hot guy. Oh, he's the first guy to give me an attention. Hi. And that's all I get. It's like I see more of a connection with her with Flint and other characters, but
Like
not
it
him.
could be manufactured.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Okay, so I agree with both what Morgan said and what Clint said of how, like, what Morgan was saying of how, like, Jackson is kind of meant to be that, like, compelling boy so that you're gonna kind of be in the later books, like, on either side. But then I also agree with what Clint said, and a lot of the times it felt very forced. Like,
mhm.
I don't understand of that this book takes place over like about I think a little less than 2 week time frame. And
Mhm.
so with Grace and Jackson saying I love you at the end of the book, I still, even reading it a second time, was like, I'm sorry. You know nothing about each other besides that you're attracted to each other, and that's pretty much it. How can you
That's what
love the
trauma
other
bonding
person?
is.
That's what?
Trauma bonding.
But I get where you're going with the trauma bonding, but there really isn't any actual trauma bonding when both of them won't fully talk about things. Trauma bonding is when you're opening up and being honest with the other person about things.
Yeah,
When
that's
there
true.
is no underlining, it's all surface level here. There is no deeper
Mhm.
connection, and that's what I think drives me nuts about this is you have a girl running around in this book being all dumb blonde over a guy that she has no connection with.
You also have to remember this is a YA book, and it follows the very, especially this first book, follows the very typical YA format of
Unfortunately.
insta love, and it's supposed to.
Yeah,
It's all intentional.
yeah. I will say it there were a few moments with their like relationship that I was like, okay, but that is kind of cute and I do kind of like them, but it feels very forced. So I was able to enjoy it and enjoy the relationship because I was like, but on the surface it is cute, but it's kind of as you get deeper then it's kind of like it's cute, but why do they like each other?
We're gonna go through comments real quick. They have heartbeats, so don't think they're dead. Good point.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. That's why the crave drives me nuts. It's like watching a character in a horror film act like they've never seen a movie before. Yes, I can understand that. Sam wants a POV from the adults. Where are all the adults? That is true. I want more Flint scenes. I want Team Flint till the revelation. I couldn't get my head around the insta love. Yeah. The grieving takes over you a lot. I'm not surprising how much it is to overlook, in my opinion. That is true. But
Yeah.
Morgan,
So, going back to it feeling forced, with the things that we learn, and I don't remember which book it is. I don't remember if it's book 2 or 3. When it's book 3 when we
There's two.
learn that the thing that happened with the blood
With the
letter.
person.
With the thing, with the thing, with the thing, with the thing.
Yes,
Gotcha.
Can't say
I
things.
think that's why it feels forced. It's supposed to feel forced.
And if that's the
Definitely.
case, then she is a brilliant writer for doing it that way.
That is probably what she's doing, because as somebody who has met her in person and talked to her, she writes all of her books very intentionally. Everything that happens in the book happens for a reason, and it all connects in one big thing.
Which could be why I don't like the first one compared to the rest, because, okay, that makes sense for going this
Yeah,
route, Campbell.
she's a very intelligent person. I don't see her just writing willy-nilly.
And I will piggyback off of what Morgan said. There is a lot in my second read through. There was a lot of foreshadowing that could be placed into the rest of the series. So she started from the beginning, and she started foreshadowing things that we don't see until later books. So that was if I like just reading through it the first time, I never picked up on it. But since I was taking my time and tabbing and annotating, I was just like, wait, is that so with
There,
that's a good thing.
there's a
Uh,
lot of hatred from two characters at each other that really should not hate each other, but it makes complete sense why they do in book
if
one.
I was comments, if I was going to look for a fan fiction, I would not necessarily go for Jackson and Grace. Jackson got on my nerves several times in this book. I can agree to that. And I think that's just part of his character. I think that's part of what he was set up as, because I can see him as both the brooding Edward Cullen type, and I can also see him as just being annoying.
He gave me more James vibes than he really did Edward throughout a lot of this.
I
It's
could see that.
throughout the rest of the series that I get more of he acts more like Edward. In book one, he gives me more James.
No worries, Lucinda.
It's supposed to be.
We're gonna stick to book one.
Sterling just popped in his head and said, "It's so badly written." Sterling's currently reading it for those in the comments.
He's currently reading it for the first time.
Yeah. It'll all make sense if you continue on. It'll all make sense.
Do we want to talk about the characters now? And
Yes.
who do we want to start with?
Can we start with the wolves?
Yes.
This is the one major thing that I hate about this series
Fucking
is why are the wolves considered the bad guys automatically? It's like every time in every paranormal series, if the wolves aren't the main focus, wolves are always deemed as bad, evil, and they're always douchebags to the main character. I just don't like that trope. Especially when we first meet Mark and Quinn and they try to throw her into the snow. Like, douchebags. I don't like the fact that wolves come off as douchebags. Sorry, I will be quiet now on that.
No, I get what you're saying, but I also thought it was like they had kind of tried to portray them as like the jocks that pick on people. And they're like, "Oh, you're a new person. We're going to throw you out in the snow for fun." And I'm like, "Why?"
I
So
thought
I
that
get
was
that.
also
Like,
thought that was also kind of like clued into the ending connection, Flint, Leah, and all that stuff. Is why they did what they did.
yeah, I think they kind of knew what was going on, and that they were trying to, because I think they had said in the end of the book, but it was all a scheme, a plot of sorts.
I just don't like that the wolves in every book are deemed as like we only get like what 2 or 3 good wolves throughout the whole series. Don't like this.
I know.
It makes me mad.
Who do we want to talk about next? Do you have any thoughts, Hope or Morgan, on the werewolves?
I am kind of on the side of I don't think that they're evil. The way wolves are written is they have a pack mentality. Like
True.
actual wolves have a pack mentality. It's very hard to join for a lone wolf to join another pack because of how tight packs are in real life. It's not necessarily that wolves are assholes. It's a I see outsiders as a threat to my family and the people that I care about. It because I think especially like with what we know at the end of the book with like Grace and the whole plot to
Yeah.
whatever. We kind of learn that they have a pack mentality, but you also have to remember that these are teenage boys going through puberty and also going through like wolf shit. And I don't know about y'all, but teenage boys can be assholes,
That is
especially
true.
to people that they don't know and see as some kind of threat because yeah, I don't know if y'all like have ever interacted with a teenage boy, but 90% of them are assholes.
I would say I used to be a teenage boy, but I don't think I count in that type of a teenage boy. I was really different then.
Well, yeah,
I
but
was a lot more
Well,
dignified.
and to think about even just that, like they're teenage boys, yes, but on top of that, they're also werewolves. So you have to take into account that they are boys, they are teenagers, and they're werewolves who are all sorts of unhormonally balanced. And on top of that, then you have someone new coming in, they're going WTF.
they're like,
So I
who
could
is you?
see,
Mm.
yeah, I can see it.
Also, to piggyback off of Sam real fast, where she said the whole, where are all the adults? You have a school for paranormal creatures, and you let them walk around all willy nilly and do whatever they want? You would think that there would
Mhm.
be some more like control of like a spell in the hallways where witches can't do magic in the hallways. They can't use their paranormal powers in the hallways and stuff. You would think there would be things like this, but there's not.
That is
True.
true because the only real adults that we see throughout this entire book are Finn, Maris, and Alma, and two of them are healers. And then you see like when Grace is in class, so you get that
Yeah,
teacher too, but they're not really
and the librarian.
interacting with the librarian. They're not really interacting with the students. They're there to either teach, heal, or point in the right direction.
So it's like there's nobody there to like control a spell. Like there should be a spell in the hallway where powers don't work. You can't
Hmm.
use magic, you can't fly, you can't shapeshift, you have no strength and stuff like that. Should be like automatic in the hallways or the classrooms and be like turned off for like certain types of classes.
Right.
You would think
Yeah,
for the children's safety,
Yeah, because we wouldn't want werewolves and vampires just willy nilly
especially
changing
on a
and
full
or
moon.
going after each other. Yeah, especially with the scene with Jackson and Cole.
So
That
I
where
get the
yeah.
I get the adult part now. Now that we think about it that way, I get where she's coming from.
What else? Who else do we want to talk about?
Let's t-
Macy,
I
Leah.
love I love Macy.
I love Macy so much.
She is the bright light in this story. She is the only character that really needs to be put into a bubble and be protected. And anything happened to her, I swear to God, me and Tracy are gonna have words.
I agree. I hope that nothing happens to Macy because I absolutely love her bubbly personality and the fact that even though she's one of the paranormals, the witches and stuff. Like she just seems very bubbly, very optimistic, very colorful.
She's coexist. She's like, I want everyone to get along and let's like have fun.
Yep.
Hope.
Hope.
I remember when I first read the book, I almost felt like Macy in the first book almost was just a little bit too bubbly and too like too much of like wanting to like care for Grace and all that, kind of overbearing. But upon a reread, I was like, no, she just really cares about her cousin and just wants to see Grace happy and healthy and fitting in. And so I appreciated her character a lot more. And I have a feeling that as I now read the rest of the books again, I'm going to enjoy Macy's character so much more than I did before, even though she's one of my favorite characters. It's only going to like level her up on like favorites.
Right. Morgan.
So, as somebody who's dealt with the similar trauma to Macy, great or similar trauma as Grace, I should say. Macy's overcompensation is not like, yes, she does care, but when you're kind of in that process of grief, you're kind of stuck in this mentality of that you are alone in dealing with this, that nobody else will understand what you're going through. And so when other people are like not necessarily compensated, but when they interact with you, they try to make you feel better in a way by trying to be there for you, because most people don't know how to deal with that. And you also got to remember that, yes, Grace lost her parents, and obviously that's a big thing, but Macy also lost her aunt and uncle. And I don't know how close they are, but I think regardless of how close you are to somebody in your family, when they die, it is weird. It makes you feel weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of it was like Maisie just felt bad, but I feel like she also wanted to make sure, to like a kind of overbearing level, that Grace knew that there was somebody out there who cared about her, because when you're dealing with grief like that, your mind can go to a lot of really dark places. And so Macy was like, probably had the mentality of like, okay, I don't want my cousin to go to that dark place. I need to make sure that she knows that somebody cares about her, so that if she does go into that dark place, she realizes that there are still people that are here for her.
I didn't think of it that way now, and so it definitely is making me
Grief makes
think.
people do weird things.
I also want to piggyback off of that. I had also taken her overbearingness and overdoing it. She was very much that when Grace didn't know about the truth. So, like, in my head, I took it as, yeah, she's trying to make sure Grace fits in, but she's also trying to not let anything spill because she was told by her dad that she wasn't allowed to tell. So, her going overboard was her way of, oh, I'm not lying. There's nothing here to see. I'm here to help you be who you need to be. I'm just going to protect you and love you and all these things. It's kind of how like I took it as. It's like she was overdoing everything because she knew the minute Grace found out the secret, it was going to crush Grace that Macy knew and didn't tell her.
Yeah.
So she was also fighting herself of, is my cousin going to hate me for
Yeah.
not, so I'm gonna throw myself into everything and make her feel as loved and accepted. And she's like, I lost family, she lost family, I can't lose her. So it's like I feel like it's those two kind of like blended. And I think
That
that's
is
why
true.
Macy's my favorite. She's the most complex character without being complex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who else do we want to talk about? Flint? Grace?
Oh, Flint.
I feel like we don't get enough of Flint. I would have liked to see more of him, but I also feel like in this book he was being used
Agreed.
and not necessarily like by Grace or anybody else, but I mean like towards the end with the whole Leah thing. Like he may not have wanted to hurt Grace, but he ended up hurting Grace in a sense.
Like I was saying to you guys, because of what we know, without letting know,
Right.
the fact that when he was in dragon form, he never threw fire at her, he never put her in his mouth. He held on to her and he was going to just squeeze the life out of her because that was the easiest thing for him to do because something else in him is fighting that.
And that's why he didn't turn into a dragon and fucking eat Grace. Like I
Exactly.
suggested.
Yes. So it was like makes you wonder, and that's all the foreshadowing and stuff that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he does this, this will never happen over here.
Like a cause and effect, yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
And I just want to hug him because I feel like he's going through a lot.
Yes.
Just for
Yeah.
book one, he just needs all the love.
He just needs a good hug.
Because
Yep.
things are done to him and not because of him.
Right. He was not hugged enough, I guess. These people don't do a lot of hugs.
We meet some of the people's parents throughout the series. We completely understand why they weren't hugged, though.
This is true.
I would not want to be hugged by Jackson's father at all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Grace or Leah or Jackson.
I mean, I feel like we've talked a bit about Jackson of how we're just annoyed by him.
On Grace, I think one of the things that irritated me the most in this series, which I think I noticed the first time, and I noticed again this time. Do not, I know you just met her, and she is super friendly. You do not take home blended herbal tea from someone that you just met. How stupid are you? That's like being at a bar and taking a drink from a man that you just met and you didn't see how it was poured. And the fact that the herbal tea was made with her back to her and it was made like this, that's suspicious in itself. I ain't gonna take your tea. Bitch, please.
Right.
You're
True.
obviously hiding something by doing it all where I can't see.
True. I would be sitting there like, "What's all in this? Can you remake it and show me everything going into it?"
And you're telling me that you and Jackson aren't on speaking terms, and you know that I'm into Jackson? Why the hell am I going to trust you and take something from you? That you're not going to show me what you're making? You could be wanting to do something to me to get back at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, in a sense, she did.
Yep.
So,
Real quick couple of comments. When Grace got the supernatural bombshell and about herself, I had to text Morgan and be like, WTF.
Yep.
Flint needs a sheep to eat.
yes.
I agree. He is going through a lot. Yes.
Yep.
The whole exploding window thing, fade to hospital scene, not knowing how Grace was injured thing annoyed me. Let's talk about that real quick. What do you guys think?
Supposed to be suspenseful. Like, obviously, Tracy's not going to kill Grace, but it's a segue into the supernatural thing and kind of like it segues into that, and also it gives us a chance to know a little bit more about Grace and the fact that, for example, she had to identify her parents' bodies, and that she was obviously told how they died, and so it like
Made her suspicious.
it made her suspicious that it was just an arterial nick, because when you deal with trauma and shit, and something similar happens again, you kind of just assume worst case scenario, and not knowing exactly like what the supernatural bits are, it like kind of yeah.
Hope.
I will say the whole window exploding thing, and then you just wake up. Then like Grace wakes up in the hospital. That whole thing is meant to be of like Grace doesn't know what's happening, and obviously we're seeing through her point of view. So how else would that thing have been able to happen without Grace knowing exactly what's happening? It would ruin the suspense. It would ruin the whole. Well, what's the like the bandage on her neck? What's underneath it? Why is she not allowed to see it? And then obviously when she does, the seeing the marks, and you're like, and then she's like, wait, what? But if she knew what was happening, it would be different, and that whole suspense and reveal would be so weak and so just convenient.
And how many of y'all actually thought, like, I know this is our second time going through this book, or in Morgan's case, like third, fourth, fifth, whatever, of reading this. My thing is when I first read it, I didn't think Jackson had anything to do with the window exploding.
Mm-mm.
Because the fact that she has already fallen out of a tree and all these other things that have keep happening to her, I thought somebody threw something in the window at that moment.
Same.
Because I knew paranormal stuff was happening. I thought somebody either busted through the window or threw something through the window. But then when they mentioned that it was just Jackson's power of the earthquakes that exploded the window, I was like, that's kind of lame a little bit.
Yeah.
But knowing what we know, without spoiling things, could the earthquake be because of what happened? Of the force? And it was its way of stopping something from happening?
It could have been.
Maybe.
I'm trying to talk as vague as I can without the spoilers.
Yeah.
I know.
And then
It's
there's
hard.
just and then there's just me for the first second after you say things. I'm like, what exactly are we talking about? Oh yeah, that.
Yep.
I mean, I could probably start utilizing the private chat then. Be like, do you think this happened because of what I wrote in the private chat?
Yeah. We can do that. More comments. There's a fan fiction out there where Jackson's dad is nice.
I don't like it.
I don't want to read it.
No.
I don't like it.
I don't know if
like
I
it.
would want to
Motherfucker
do that
deserves
because,
everything coming to him.
yeah. I don't know if there is, but they need to make one. Oh, so she doesn't know if there's one about Jackson's dad. I mean, even if there was, I don't know that I would read it considering where the series and timeline goes. That is where I'd like Jackson's POV to make the whole bite more thing.
It would be interesting to have a Jackson's point of view of book one.
I would read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Because I know they released that about the whole Twilight thing. It'd be really interesting to see it from this one's point of view because it'd be more entertaining. To
You
know
never know.
what I want to know what's going in Jackson's head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it would have to be one that has to be read after you read the full series.
Yeah.
Because it could spoil things throughout the rest of the series.
This is my first time reading it. And I didn't suspect the quakes were Jackson. I just thought it was Grace. Grace made the quakes.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's an interesting thought on it. Because throughout the book, you don't know why they're having so many quakes. And it could have been Grace because of what she is. I don't want to spoil for those that are in the comments that haven't read the last 40 pages.
Right. I'm just thinking, what? No,
But
I guess
Jackson
it could
does.
be.
But Jackson does mention that he has the power of earthquakes.
Yeah. Maybe because of she is what she is. I mean, it's a possibility, but given like what the information that we have with Jackson having the earthquake ability, I'm more inclined to say that it's him. And he even said at one point, I think, that it has increased since she showed up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not inclined to say that it's Grace. I'm more inclined to say that it's Jackson.
It's either Jackson or some outside force. That's like the two things that I'm leaning towards.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say
Yeah.
it, so I put it in the private chat.
Yes.
I think that's why it's going cray cray, is because it's trying to counteract that being done,
And it's a possibility.
which would make a lot more sense the further we go along with the series if we start paying attention to little things like that.
And what do we think of Leah? If we move on to different characters.
Oh, I thought she was a bitch the minute she was introduced.
Bitches.
Agree.
Didn't like her any single time she was on page. I'm just like, can you just fuck off?
It was the
Sus.
way she treated
That's for sure.
Macy. It was the way she treated Macy that I saw her true colors. I was like, you're a cunt. I need you to go. Off my page. You're trying to manipulate Grace, and I need you to go away.
Yes, I was very suspicious of her, especially when they started saying that Leah never really interacted with anyone, and then Grace shows up and she's now trying to be buddy buddy, but still kind of snarky and rude to Macy. And then the whole like chanting and that whole scene, I was just like, see, go ahead.
But I will also piggyback off the fact of the trauma-ness of her losing Hudson, and Grace being the first person that's ever been around her that doesn't know her with Hudson, like she said, was almost believable on why she would want to be around Grace. Because she's like, ooh, new person that doesn't know who I was when I was around them, that doesn't hate me, that isn't mad at me, that I'm not mad at because of the events of what happened to Hudson. So that was almost believable.
Like Lucinda says, yeah, I thought bitch, but I was also like, she's sad as well, so it might be just her armor thing. It could be. But I don't know, like when I was reading it, just something about her was like, there's more than just what we're seeing on the page. There's more than what the author is writing. There has to be, because it didn't seem like she was really trying to be Grace's friend. What else?
I can't say it, so I typed it.
No.
Because Leah kept saying that she was.
Oh, I thought you meant a different she. I thought you were talking about Grace
No.
for a second. And I was like, no.
But we don't really have concrete evidence that she ever was Hudson's mate, at least in this book.
But she was the one that kept saying that she was. But knowing the things we know, it makes you wonder what else happened to her before the events of this.
And I also think about it too, like from my understanding, even with just this book, mates are forever. And if you lose your mate, then that's it. You can have multiple mates in your lifetime, but Jackson being a suitable replacement for Hudson as a mate, I don't
Very fishy.
Yeah.
That was more
But that could have been a cover.
that was also more of, I took it as a it's politics,
And
and
that could
she
be.
was that they weren't mates. They're just being assigned as mates. They're not true mates.
Right.
Is how I took it. Politics because of the fact that Jackson and Hudson's dad is an asshole.
Yeah.
Would want his child to be paired up with the right person of their
Hmm.
choice, not their child's choice.
Yeah.
I like that there were different types of dragons. And like in dragon abilities.
They did
I
mention
think
in it different types of dragons, like the Chinese dragons, the Irish dragon type body shapes and stuff. Because
I got you.
she asked Flint what type of dragon he was, and he went in a little bit about the different types. Not much, because then they had to run.
That's true. That's true.
Because wasn't that right before Jackson and Colton? Or
Yeah.
Colton?
That's why they had to run because Jackson was, I guess, dishing out his warning. And let's talk about that. What do you guys think about that scene in general?
Love the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Love the foreshadowing in that scene to the end of the book. Because when she walked right through the magic,
Yeah.
because of what she is, that
Really.
magic doesn't work on her.
That makes sense.
I did not realize that until now.
Yeah.
I
Well, and
love
the thing is, too, is like we are set up to believe that Grace is human this entire book. So, in theory, she shouldn't, she would be affected the same way. But if she is of paranormal variety, depending on what she is, would have different effects.
Yeah, with the
Yep.
fact that that was the first sign of, well, even when I read it, I was like, is she not human? Because that was
Hmm.
like a big, like, blink, 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 something's not
Yeah,
right here.
he shouldn't be able to do that.
I was like, he throws people in the room that are 10 times stronger than an average human. So, why can a human walk through it?
Right.
Yeah.
And do we know, like, because I know they said that he was dishing out a warning, but we never really got what led him to do the dishing out of the warning and why.
Didn't he say it was because of her falling out of the tree and that there was like a hit on her life or something?
I think it was said later on, but in
Yeah.
that time frame where that scene was, there was no indication. It was just like this is happening. They're running to go see it. They witnessed it, and then Jackson and Grace hauled off and went to the tower. But we didn't find out until later on that he felt the werewolves were putting out a hit on her because of some scheme or plan or anything
Because
like that. And
they thought Jackson was in league with Leah to
Mhm.
bring back Hudson.
Yeah. Let's see. We had some other comments. Tori, I will say I really like the scene with Grace and Flint in the library with the marshmallows.
That is cute.
That was adorable. And it
I do.
showed Flint in all Flintness.
Yep, but it also showed too, like even though he was a dragon, dragons can have more than one ability. So he could have used fire or made flowers. So it seemed like he had fire, ice, and earth magic. Now is I can't
And he
say.
had wind.
So he's more of an all elements type,
Mm.
whereas some of them may not have all.
Well, also who his family is probably plays a part in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because isn't he like half Asian, half African type dragons?
I want to say yes.
Because I know his mom is pure Asian.
I assume that was to do with their mating bond thing.
I could see that.
So a magical thing, but not necessarily her being magical. Hmm. It could. It was right after he found out about the bite it happened.
No, I thought the bite happened after that.
Well, she got bit by Maris, who had to go in and heal or undo and then heal what Jackson did after the window break. That was
Yeah,
when
that
she
was
got
after
bit.
the bite because she didn't know about supernaturals until the bite. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was
Yeah.
before that.
yeah.
But I feel like that's still like some time after. Granted, this book does only take place within 2-week frame.
Everything's
Max
happening
of
so fast, and we don't have enough description before he knew who did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she knew who did it. She just hadn't found him yet to tell him.
Yeah, because he
And
was
that's when
off.
she went to the library
Yeah.
to learn more, and the librarian sent her to Flint. Which I want to know, was the librarian in on it with Flint and all of them to stop Hudson from, because she sent her directly to Flint.
No, I think that was a more of now that things are out in the open and Grace wanted to learn more about what she was being surrounded with.
I
Amica
don't the
was a
adults.
very I guess intuitive. So she was like, "Well, start here." And that just because he happened to be there type.
Well, I mean, if she's intuitive, she could know something that's the foreshadowing that we don't know at this time as well. So,
And
yeah,
that's kind
there's
of like
that.
I took it too because she was holding Grace's hands and she probably saw something and then said, "Oh, go this way."
Be like, you need
Start
to go
here,
this way. Fix this.
right? Do we want to talk about foreshadowing? Because I have some tabs.
We can.
Do we have any other characters or things about characters we want to talk about before moving on?
Nope.
I mean, we haven't really talked about like the order and like all like just briefly. I'm like, I do like the setup of that in this to know where everything goes. We'll just put
I
it that
would like to know more about them and why there is an order. Or is that like a vampire court thing because of who Jackson is, or is that just that's who he?
So, did Hudson have an order?
Well, and that's my question too, because I think it was mentioned some point in here that two of the people from the order were in the same class and around Hudson, or at least near Hudson, but they're still at the school and now they are around Jackson. So did they start with Hudson or did they just form a circle around Jackson? So I would like to know more about the order.
Could the thing I would like, if we did get a point of view from Jackson with book one, I would like it to start with the prologue or something with the battle between Jackson and Hudson. I would
That
like to
Yeah.
know
sign me up for that.
what
yes,
really happened there, because even throughout the series, we're never truly told
the
what
story.
fully happened, and to see it through Jackson's eyes on why he thinks what happened.
Right.
So
And
who's
this
telling Tracy Wolff to write that?
I
I
mean,
mean, make it
Morgan is going to be closest to her next because she's going to be in Denver soon. So
When?
I sent it in the Instagram.
Crave-a-long chat.
Yeah.
I
And I
think
even
it's
went
gonna be
Morgan.
next month.
I'll have to double check.
Next
End
month.
of March.
And end of March. There you go. And this could very well be. They said it was
I
because they were
won't
all
be here
born
at
and
the
not
end of
made.
March. Depending on what day she's here, I won't be here at the end of March.
I don't know. I'd have to look at it. So yeah, I definitely more about the order and more about what happened. What happened?
I mean, she could always release. I know some other book series and stuff do these like educational books, like within the books, where we could get one that is literally on the vampire court, one that's on the wolves court, stuff like that for those that want to know these details. Because true fans are going to buy this stuff.
Oh, of course.
We'll buy the shit.
Yeah, shut up and take my money.
Yes. Sign me up.
Because I know, like House of Night, they have with 4 people, they have their own individual books, and then they have like the fledgling
Novellas, yep.
handbook and stuff like that. So it's like that would be interesting for this, and she would make more money.
They even have one. I think it's like Nyx in the House of Night.
Yeah.
So they have that one too. So yeah, she could totally do something like that with this, and I would just eat it up. I would read it.
Or even a graphic novel. Like they have one for House of Night. They have a graphic novel one for 5 stories, one of each element. You could do graphic novels for like one of each court. That kind of explains more of like a major event in each court.
That could be. Yeah. I would read it.
Because I would love a backstory for 2 important characters that I can't say because Morgan doesn't know their love story.
Yep.
Bethany says yes to all of the above. We have to get Tracy to get on it. Who wants to send out that message?
Just send her the link to
Tracy!
the live.
Watch her live! Woman!
Right.
It's like, we have ideas for you to make more money.
Yep. If you're so willing, we would like to hear about more of this. And I think that also, because like with this book, you don't really get a whole lot of the werewolves to begin with. You see like Mark and Quinn going after Grace and trying to throw her in the snow. You get Jackson and Cole issuing his warning. And that's kind of all you really see of the werewolves in this book. So I would like to see more of them in general to say this is why they are the way they are. So that would be interesting in itself.
Yeah, I sent Hope and Alicia, I sent y'all a message on Twitter, seeing as I can't say it in front of Morgan.
Oh my goodness.
Because I don't remember where it's like introduced at, but I would love more of their story.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I have questions. So many questions.
So many questions.
Do we have any other character comments?
The only other character comment I want to say is Macy's dad's amazing, and I just love him. And he kind of gives me book 1 and book 2 Dumbledore vibes in the sense of the happy-go-lucky, like, I'm going to skip through the hallway kind of person. It's kind of the vibe I get.
Yes, but towards like the end of the book, I also like if you were to make this into a movie, Jude Law.
Oh
Like-
my god,
Wait,
yes!
as who?
Jude Law.
Macy's dad.
And he has to be dressed like he is in Fantastic Beasts. Like
Oh
that.
Yes.
my god, yes. All the
Like-
yes.
Can we
Dumble Daddy?
make this happen?
Yes. Listen, Dumble Daddy moment? Yes, please.
Like, I don't know why, but there was something that was said in the book later on from Finn, and I was just like, why do I picture Jude Law? And I think I even made a comment on it. And I was like, yes, please.
Sam, meh.
And Lucinda said I had all the feels when she compared his similarities to her dad.
Yep.
Yes, I agree with that. So, yeah, meh. Meh.
I would
I
also, another side story I would like to know is how her dad gave up the powers and why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how the
Even if
parents
we could
met.
get like a compilation of short stories on some of this, I would be happy.
Yeah, just give us a short story collection of just random short stories for those of us who want them. Listen, you can make it just as big, each short story about 10 pages
Right.
or more. Listen,
Right.
all good YA series has a short story collection now. Think Lunar Chronicles.
Yep. I have so many questions about like different characters that I need to see more. So where do we go from here? More characters? Do we go into
We can go
foreshadowing?
we can go into foreshadowing without actually like saying what it's foreshadowing of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause like Twilight was a foreshadow, Legacies was a foreshadow.
Yes.
The tension between so and so and so and so was a foreshadow.
Tori says, I will say I have all of the books except for the one that is not out yet. Same. I
Same.
cannot wait
And
for
I
book.
have all of them signed.
So, and I know Hope and I were kind of already talking about this a little bit, but there's a couple of things that I noticed even early on that so like on page 40, the very last sentence of the chapter was chapter 4. It says, because even though I'm sure I'm imagining things, it suddenly feels a lot like I'm being watched.
Well, you are.
Now, well, and my note said that I was like, Grace is being watched by who? Another vampire? Or is it someone else that we think is dead and she is
That's who I took it as.
it could be Jackson and Flint, and I was thinking of that as well.
Oh no, not that. That was to the other comment I made.
Oh,
That what I just typed.
yeah. Or and that's what I was thinking, the second one.
Yeah.
Because I know that well, and even in this book they say that he was dead, but from what we know, is he really? Because we don't get a real clear story on in this one how he died per se.
Yeah, and especially with the ending.
Yeah, with the ending. That's what I was thinking too. And even though that she may not know it yet, I think that
I don't even think he knows it at this point.
No.
mm-mm. But even still, like I don't foresee him being too far away. I feel
Or
like there's
could
For
it
some reason, this
also
conversation reminds me of this dumb theory I had the first time I read this book that Hudson. Do you remember this? Where Hudson and Jackson shared the same like consciousness, that like Hudson just lived inside of Jackson's brain.
kinky?
that would be
Okay. Could it be a person that we know of that is introduced in the second book because Jackson takes her to her? Could it be her? Because she's all knowing, all seeing? and where they're at would not be that far from her.
I did not think of that. I guess maybe
Because
because
of
she's not mentioned in this book, but he is.
but because of XYZ that she does.
I mean, it's feasible. I guess that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
Or it could also be the librarian who is intuitive
Oh,
and can see into the future or the past. We don't know what she can see
did not even suspect the librarian.
because who told Flint and the wolves who she was? That's the thing, is how did they know that she was there because of Leah? Who's the person who told them? And
Well,
the
and
only
yeah,
one
somebody would have had to have said something in order to do what they did to get Grace to Katmere.
and there's only one person that has showed any type of premonition, intuitive, cognitive ability, and that's the librarian.
True.
What's she got up her sleeve? Now
What
see,
is
now I'm
the
suspicious of the librarian.
Same.
No.
But it's like, I always want to know who told Flint and the wolves who she was.
Yeah.
No, that can't happen
No.
because that person can't
No,
leave where
no.
they're at. So
Yeah.
it can't be. They can't be the same person, unfortunately. But I like where your head's at.
Well, and I don't think she could leave where she's at either until well later on. But
But with what Morgan just put, it's a possibility as well.
Like, we know that she has that ability.
True.
Like, she has the power to do
To be
that.
the eyes and the ears for her.
True.
why did I just get like the Fae Queen from Shadowhunter vibes with that comment?
Hello.
The birds and the bees tell me all.
Birds and the-
I haven't finished
Morgan's
Shadowhunters,
Morgan's
so I have no
completely
idea what's going
confused.
on.
And I apologize for those who are in the comments that have no idea what we're talking about, because we're talking in code.
We're talking gibberish. We're talking a different language to some people, probably. They're just like, huh? I'm just gonna
But that does make me wonder, is what the librarian really that made me had thoughts throughout this entire book. Is
I
the
just
first time I
realized
read it.
something
Huh?
that I could do. I just realized. I just had a really random thought pop into my head. I could literally make these characters in The Sims. Because now I have reference pictures.
Oh my
No.
god.
Reading this book, it made me question the librarian a little bit, because I wanted to know whose side she was on. Because if she's allowing Leah to do what she's doing in the library, to have her own little room and stuff like that, but then is also sending her towards Flint, whose side is she really on?
That is true.
And if what Morgan suggested is true, that would still play into that, to play both sides. Because chaos.
Oh.
Because that would be playing both sides of the thing and full of chaos. Because of who she is.
I still think that my theory is correct. And even if it's I'm saying it's canon
Well,
now.
your theory is correct with the where I'm going, but you don't know why it's correct because of what I am saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's canon now, so
Hope and Alicia get what I'm saying.
I
Uh-huh.
got you. I got you.
Listen, it's not my fault that I've been fucking depressed.
Echo Bravo, blah de blah.
That's accurate.
Yep. We'll throw in some foxtrot and some tango, and we're good to go.
But
Let's talk about the scene at the end with Leah and the altar. Thoughts?
I feel like she was doing something wrong. I don't know, the way it was described, and I paid attention the second time around. I don't remember the exact because I never wrote it down, but there was an exact something where she was talking about the spell and everything, and the way that she had her laid on the thing, something seemed off. Like if she did it this way, something else will happen, not what she's wanting to happen.
I mean, magic is
'Cause
so
chaos. I'm sorry, my thing is always going to go back to you know who and chaos. Of manipulating both sides and fucking shit up.
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it really fucked it up when Jackson almost took in the breath. Hope.
I am just wondering. We don't ever find out where Leah got the spell. Where did she learn it from?
Didn't she say she found it in the back of a book?
Well, it was in the book, but how did she get said book?
Why is that type of book? Like, I'm guessing maybe it wasn't at the school, but it might have been.
And that book,
No.
is it the same book that Flint had because he was studying?
No. Not with what you said, Morgan. What if it's Jackson's mom gave her the book?
Oh shit,
Or
that would make sense.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can see what you know who doing what you know who does. But what if the mom gave her because Hudson was her prize child?
So you think the mom had something to do with trying to bring him back?
Yeah, because she already punished Jackson for killing him.
Well, that we know of.
That Jackson says happened.
Yeah.
So the mom could be in cahoots to bring back her son.
Yeah, that's possible.
And it could be something that belongs to her dad, like their dad. And she found it and was like, hey, Leah,
Just like read this book.
you loved her. You loved Hudson. This is Hudson's favorite book. Read it.
I reckon Hudson's charisma has lasted after his death, making people do stuff. He did have that ability. They said he had that ability, but I don't think that would be.
You learn more in future books. That's all I'll say.
Da di da di da di da di da di da di da.
It's like when you can't say things like saying yes or no or things like that because of spoilers. So it's like, just keep reading.
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim into the next book.
Yes.
But yeah, so, and it almost was even more fucked up and would have been kind of Morgan's like book side thing if Hudson would have went into Jackson when Jackson had survived. If he would have sucked in the smoke with them both being vampires, would we have gotten Jackson / Hudson all in one?
Why did my brain just go, that's a terrifying idea.
Could you imagine all four of their powers together? Fucking hell.
Oh, dear Lord. Nope.
No, but and that whole scene in itself just seems like something was missing, and I'm not exactly sure why Leah wanted the smoke to go inside of Grace. Like, I'm not exactly sure what that would have done in terms of bringing back Hudson.
Could
We don't really see the spell, so
could it be because I know Hope and Alicia has read book 5. Could
Mhm.
it be the same way with what happened with the statue in town to preserve Hudson so they could bring back Hudson?
I think that's possible.
Yeah, and if you knew
It's like
exactly,
it it would make sense,
I don't.
assuming that Jackson didn't completely obliterate Hudson's body. It's probably safe to assume that the Jackson's parents still have Hudson's body, probably in like some kind of tomb or whatever, especially if they were in on the plan to get Hudson back. I'm ignoring that comment, Sam.
But think about it, because if Leah knows she's a gargoyle, if she sucked that smoke in, could it have forced her to turn stone
I think it's possible.
because somebody was invading her? And that's
I
why
think
at
it's
the end, when the smoke goes in front of, like, he's gonna go attack Jackson, she sucks him in and turns stone?
because it's like the instinct of the gargoyle.
I
Yes.
think that makes sense. But also I think what Leah was probably gonna do is just use Grace as a vessel to get Hudson back to his body because, like I said, his parents probably
And
have
all she would
his
have had to
body
do was
somewhere.
and all she would have had to do was kill Grace, and then Hudson could have escaped Grace's body into his.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
I mean, loving these thoughts here.
I don't know. I just something doesn't sit right with me in that whole scene because it has.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that, Alicia.
I totally forgot about that. Maybe he wait, that makes so much
So I'm
sense.
saying, like, I mean, even towards the end when he's in the hallway and he's kind of a gray smoke, and then he just appears, and then he's trying to throw a sword at his brother.
Which would mean that he
Which,
has some kind of corporeal.
Form.
so I'm saying I don't. The whole like doing the spell and the altar thing, I'm not 100% sure that that's what Leah was after. But also, I think about like
Well,
when
as far as
when
anybody
Grace did.
knows,
Does
Hudson
Leah.
is dead. He's like dead. But with your theory, Alicia, it makes sense.
Well, and I also think about too, like when Jackson finally got the smoke and sent it into Leah. She said thank you, and then Hope.
Okay, I literally just had a thought in my head and it disappeared as soon as you called on me. But what if, like, I have this idea of whatever spell that Leah was trying to do, whatever, if it would have been 100% executed, it still wouldn't have worked. I don't know
No.
why, but like, it's just like whatever she was trying to do, it wouldn't have worked.
What if, because what I just said, if Leah
Yeah.
knows this, knowing this, hurting Grace is the only way to bring Hudson back. And it's not even the smoke or anything that she's looking for. She's looking for if he's not really dead and he's just hiding in another realm, because he could have been hiding in a different realm
Yeah.
to make everyone think he's dead. There's
It sounds wrong. Gargoyles are traditionally guardians. Yes.
so it makes you wonder.
He could be a ghoul at that point, which are able to affect stuff physically if they feed on someone.
Yeah, but we have no indication that those exist in this world.
Yeah,
We
in this book,
also-
we don't know that that could be a possibility.
Or even if it is a possibility.
We also at this point don't know what all Hudson's abilities are. Even at book 5, you don't know all of Hudson's abilities, because there's ones that he says he refuses to use.
Yeah, but given the information that we know about Hudson in this book, we don't know enough about Hudson to even assume that he had certain abilities.
Yeah, and we don't know enough to even know if he was really the bad guy or the good guy or anything. She's just taking Jackson's word at it.
And that's kind of where I was at with it. Like, and I think that's why Grace was kind of like, I want to know more about what happened. So, and I want to be able to like read, like you said, if she did it from Jackson's point of view and we started with that battle, then we would know what would happen, and then we could
Understand why he saw it the way he saw it.
That would be interesting.
Because what if said person that we've been talking about in our little private manipulation, because she could know the truth, but she wants A and B to happen, not X and Y to happen.
Which then begs the question of, there's obviously a timeline of things that have to happen in order for something else to happen. So who started the timeline, or who started this has to happen in order this has to happen, and then they have to go, okay, who can I
Chaos.
manipulate into doing said things? Or who can I use
Chaos.
or dispose of in order to make things happen?
Time Wizard.
We all know exactly who it is.
We don't know if there's time wizards, Clint. Only book 1.
I know. I don't know. You have witches and wizards. You could have a time wizard somewhere. Who knows?
That is true, though.
It's different types of magic.
We
There's
don't
gotta
know
be
exactly
action.
what the capabilities of these witches and warlocks' powers are.
That is
True.
true.
How did we know that her parents didn't start this chain of events by him giving up his magic? Him giving up his magic started the chain of events.
Oh.
If he would have kept his magic, we wouldn't have. Grace would have been raised to something different.
But
Well, and to go off of that too, they said that like her mom was supposed to, he gave up her powers for the human mother. But how do we actually know that the mother was in fact human?
true.
Well, we know the truth in a later book, but
What, don't think about the future books. Think of this one.
I know. But I was like, what?
That's why I'm just
We
like
kinda know
nodding
the
at what
answer to
Alicia's
that.
saying. Like, I know the truth, but
I get what you're saying. Sorry, my brain had a moment of, but we know already. How
In
are we
book
questioning
1,
something we already know?
don't.
But
No.
we don't know. Okay.
we don't know anything.
So we're sticking to
We're
this
dumb.
is a
We know
theory of book 1 based off of the information in book 1. This is what we theorize. And what do we think about the ending of this book and where it
Oh,
ended?
perfect ending, because it pissed me off.
Oh yeah.
Every ending to this series is the perfect endings to these. Every book has the perfect ending because it pisses you off.
Well, yeah, because Tracy Wolff is a fucking genius.
Yes, Hope.
Yeah, the endings, they piss you off because they're always a cliffhanger, and you're just like, excuse me, I have to wait however long until the next book, and you're just like, can I just like steal your
What a
laptop?
really evil thought.
I swear to God, if Cherish ends on a cliffhanger,
That's what I was gonna
will
say.
riot.
We'll have a meetup on Tracy Wolf's doorstep and just start yelling at her.
Be like, woman.
We'll be freaking out about getting to meet each other while also yelling at her.
But also on that note, I know I need to get off of here soon because Sterling and I have errands to run before we have to be at my parents'.
Oh my goodness. All right, so any last thoughts, theories? Anything you want to say about anything? Oh, I did have a point though, about Grace's scent. I don't know if any of you picked it up, but she smells one way in the beginning and she's a total different scent at the end of the book.
That's intentional.
Could that be because of what you know who did could block the second scent until things are in motion?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Probably.
It's possible. I was thinking more of she smelled one way because everyone thought she was human, and then things happened, and then she got a different scent.
Or her human side has one scent and her gargoyle side has another.
Mm-hmm.
Which we will find out more in Crush.
Yay!
Because it'll be February and we're all crushing to find out what's happened next.
Whoa. Whoa.
Sorry.
Let's get through
I
the
tried.
comments. That would be cool. Would be cool. A book from Jackson's point of view from then. Yes. I was at work when I finished this book and I had to go into one of the private restrooms in my under my breath because I was annoyed that I had to wait till February for the next book.
Yeah,
I mean, you can read it now. We won't discuss it until February.
well, at least not discuss it live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's or what we're talking about, but the cliffhanger in book 2 was wild. We will get to
Hello?
that.
Oh yeah.
She noticed that. Yes. So, no other comments, questions, things, thoughts?
Nope.
Ah, okay. I just saw what was the last line of book 2. Yeah. I couldn't
know-
exactly remember. Flagged.
I know that I
Pissed
don't
it
really
off.
have any thoughts besides I'm really excited to continue.
Especially with this new mindset we have, because we know what happens. Seeing all this
I'm scared.
foreshadowing.
Oh,
ugh.
yeah.
I'm terrified to read book 2, but also so excited.
Oh, there's going to be parts that's going to break.
Because of you know what that happens, you know when, and you know what in the whole thing.
Yes. Because you know who doing you know what.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And also the things that happen in book 5 that you.
It's going to be hard for me to read book 2 basically because I've read all
Book
of them.
5.
And so I'm just going to be like, oh.
Yes, Sterling asked me last night. He was like, so do I read book 5 or book 2 next? It's like, 2.
Yep, read
2.
it.
You
Read
can't
more.
read book 5 till you read book 4. It'll spoil shit. Nuh-uh. You're not going there.
So excited for February. Yes, we are. And in doing so, if there's no other thoughts, February will be book 2, which is Crush. Clint will have a copy of it there, and we will be on Morgan's channel. I believe it's the last Saturday, which is the 25th, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Central Time. I believe it's 1 p.m. and 12 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And March, we can do it. We're free on March, by the way.
The last Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will make a note of it.
Because our author live show is in April instead of March.
Okay.
Just thought I'd point that out there.
Okay.
I haven't finished book 5 yet. I have 8 chapters left or so, and I can't bring myself to finish it. I'm so sad. Do it. Do it. I think I know what part she's at if she's got 8 chapters left and something happens and she's sad. But we'll get to that in May.
Oh, fun.
At some point in time.
Yep. So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and end this live stream. Thank you for everyone coming. Thank you for the co-hosts. Wonderful chats, wonderful points of view in the comments. I hope you guys come back next month and join us for book 2. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Come crush the competition.
Bye.